Hey, Joe the Runner with JoeRandini.com. Today's discussion is going to be about long run nutrition and a quick recap of the first block of training for the Devil Dog Ultras 100-mile race that I'm going to run in December.
Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so. Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so. Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so. Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so. Everybody ask me how I know.
All right, let's get started with nutrition for your long run. So, did get a request from somebody through Fitbit. Basically, they asked me, what do I do for nutrition for my long run? There is another post that I've done for long run preparation, but today I'll just do a quick conversation on specifically for nutrition for a long run. So, as an example, I did an 18-mile run on Saturday of last week. And what I did is for all my long runs, and by long, I'm kind of defining that with time. So if I'm running on a road and I'm going to do 13 miles, generally I wouldn't consider that to be a long run because it'll take me less than 2 hours to do that. But if I'm doing that same 13 miles on trails, it's going to be over 2 hours, and at that point I would consider it to be a long run. So the nutrition aspect of it changes quite a bit. The first thing I would say is every long run I start with a good breakfast, and for me a good breakfast is overnight oats. I do have a recipe for overnight oats that I've shared with people in a post on the blog. I'll put that link below. And then I'll have a couple of bananas for the potassium and the electrolytes and things like that. So I get a nice solid breakfast in me. I digest for about an hour, and then I go and do my long run. During the run itself, and I'm not sanctioned by any of these products that I'm going to mention or anything, so don't think that I've got an ulterior motive. These are just the things that I use and have worked for me on my long run. So I'll bring with me on a long run, 18-miler on Saturday as an example, Tailwind. That's what I used to drink. So instead of Gatorade or Powerade, I used Tailwind. It was designed by an ultra runner who had stomach issues during an ultra marathon, and it's just really a light taste, and it's light on the stomach. So I really enjoy that product, and it works very well for me. So my water bottles generally have Tailwind in them. I'll bring with me SIS gels. So SIS is a company that's from the UK. They do have a US branch now, so you can go online and order them here in the United States. The SIS gels, it's similar to goo and things like that, but it's just got a little bit of a different flavor and a little bit of a different taste. For me, I don't have stomach issues with the SIS gels. That's why I use them. For an 18-miler, I look at taking nutrition, let's say every 3 miles or so, 3 to 4 miles. So for an 18-miler, that means I need at least 5, bits of nutrition that I'm going to take during the run. So I'll probably bring 3 gels with me that I'll consume during the run, and then I'll try to supplement those gels with some type of solid food. The other types of foods that I bring with me during long runs, I'll bring energy bars that, again, I get from SIS. But I'll also bring dates. I love dates. I think they're a really sweet treat that you can kind of eat. It gives you a quick hit of natural sugar for energy, and it's also loaded with potassium and magnesium, so it helps with cramping and things like that. I will also bring beef jerky, believe it or not. Depending, when you do these long distances, sometimes your body craves sweet. So you've got to kind of have things that are sweet that you can eat. And sometimes your body will crave salty. So I bring things that are salty. So for me, I've experimented, and you're going to have to experiment as well. But, the way I've tried to hit those cravings when I'm doing long runs where I don't have aid stations and I'm carrying the food myself, dates are nice and compact and they're sweet. Beef jerky I can wrap in saran wrap. And take it with me, and it's very easy to get out of my backpack and eat as well. So I cover my cravings for sweet and salty via the energy bars via the dates, via the beef jerky. So typical kind of, let's go back to that 18-mile run, a typical kind of nutrition plan for that run for me would be I'll run maybe 3.5 miles, and I would probably start with a gel since I already ate breakfast with the overnight oats, and I'm digesting food. That first bit of nutrition that I'll take in about 3.5 mile mark, it'll just be a gel. The second, again, probably mile 6 to 7 in that range, I would opt for some food probably. So depending on how I'm feeling, I might reach for some dates, 2 or 3 dates, or I might reach for the beef jerky and have a couple pieces of beef jerky, or it could simply be one of those energy bars that I brought with me. But the bottom line is I will take at regular intervals calories in, because the whole point of this is when you're running these longer distance, you want to push out bonking, right? So bonk from a technical standpoint, it's when the glycogen stores in your muscles have been depleted and your body starts to try to tell you to stop because you're going to hurt yourself, right? You want to try to avoid that or push it out further by replenishing the glycogen in the muscles. And the way that you do that, or slowing down the use of the glycogen in your muscles, and the way that you do that is you give your body quick and easy energy to start burning instead of reaching into those glycogen stores. And you do that by carbohydrates, so sugars, and those gels are loaded with sugars and things like that. The other thing I failed to mention is, at the 3.5 mile mark, I take that nutrition. I might wait, 5 minutes, and then I'll probably take 2 or 3 sips of my Tailwind to wash down that gel. Same thing at that 6.5, 7 mile mark. Depending on what I ate, I'll definitely wait, maybe 5 minutes, and then wash it down with a couple of swigs of Tailwind again. Just kind of the pattern or the routine, somewhere between mile 8.5 and 9, I'll probably have another gel, and then wait 5 minutes and wash it down with some Tailwind, and then, kind of rinse and repeat. You get to mile 12 to 13, it'd probably be some food. So, again, I'd be crave salty. I'm going to do the beef jerky. If I'm craving sweet, I'm going to grab a date or an energy bar. Wait 5 minutes, wash it down with a couple of swigs of Tailwind, and then once again at mile 15 to 16, depending on how my stomach's feeling, I could go with a gel or I could go with food again, and then wash it down, with some Tailwind. And then this was an 18-mile run. Obviously, I'm not eating anything when I finish the run out, on the trail. I usually wait till I get home, and within 30 minutes, I'll have a recovery drink. And again, I use SIS. I just love that company. I think their products are great. They work really well for me. And I'll have some food, generally speaking, a big salad with tuna fish, or maybe a couple of turkey wraps with some apples or something like that. But the bottom line is, within that 30-minute window of finishing a long run, you want to get about 55-60% carbohydrates in, and I'm talking macros here. So if you're going to have a meal, you want it to kind of be 50-55% carbohydrates, 30% or so protein to start repairing muscles, and then the rest of it would be some kind of a good fat, from the tuna with omega-3s, or maybe some avocado or something like that. But generally speaking, if you after a hard, long run like that, you get a recovery drink in you, and you get some real food in you, and those macro levels, like I said, the carbs and the protein and the good fat, you're going to give your body what it needs to start the recovery process, and that's really important. So hopefully that kind of helps you guys understand, how I manage nutrition for a long run. Now, when you're talking about an ultra marathon and you're doing 40, 50 miles or 100 miles, and there's aid stations, the truth of the matter is, you know, you're going to have foods that you brought with you in those situations, and you want to cover the spectrum, because I've run, you know, 30, 40 miles, and my body said, hey, you want some sweet stuff. I've run 30 or 40 miles, and, you know, my body's, you know, craving salty or crunchy or a texture, whatever it might be. And you kind of have to bring all those things, because you just don't know from race to race or from distance to distance what's really you're going to crave and what's going to be working for your stomach. So it's not unusual to bring stuff and, you know, eat all of one thing and have leftovers of the rest, or as the race progresses, you move from salty to sweet. I mean, it really is trial and error, and it's different for every race or different for every long distance run. So you've got to do some experimentation. But my recommendation would be you shoot for around that 30 to 40 minute range. Every 30 to 40 minutes, you want to put some kind of calories in your body via gels or food, and you want to hydrate a little bit. And one of the ultra runners that I follow on YouTube said it best. It's all about sipping and nibbling, sipping and nibbling. So you know, you're not going to sit there when you're running these distances and pound down tons and tons of food while you're running, but you definitely want to sip and nibble and get the calories in and get the electrolytes in, so that you can give yourself the opportunity to successfully run the distance that you're trying to run. So that's it for quick chat on nutrition around long runs. In regards to an update on the first training block for the Devil Dog Ultras, you know, we're 4 or 5 weeks into the new year. The goal for the first training block, just to kind of refresh everybody, was to lose a little bit of weight, because I gained some weight over the holidays like most people. It was to rebuild that cardio base. So when I was in really good shape for the 40-mile race I ran in October, you know, you want to get that cardiovascular fitness back to that level before you really start hitting the hard miles in training. And then the third part was basically I wanted to start increasing the miles slowly, you know, so that I didn't get injured. And last week, you know, was a 40-mile week with an 18-mile long run on the weekend. So I feel good. I'm slowly increasing the weekly miles. I think I will get to that, you know, 50-mile week mark probably within the next 3 or 4 weeks. In the beginning of March, I'm going to be pacing someone who's attempting a 100-mile race, so that'll probably be a good 25 to 30-mile run for myself, which fits great, dovetails right into the training block for me. And then we'll start working on the second block of training for the Devil Dog Ultras. But weight loss right now, you know, I've lost a couple of pounds, but I probably won't see the weight start coming off seriously until I start really hitting the miles. Once those weekly miles get up to the 60, 70 mile range, generally speaking, my body responds pretty well and the weight starts to strip off. So that's it. There's the quick talk on the long run nutrition. So I hope that checks the box for the folks who asked me that question. And that's the update for block 1 of the Devil Dog Ultras 100 miler training.